Hello guys and welcome back to Hey Manager with me Alex, and today we're bringing back a channel favourite, or a channel favourite for me anyway. It is tactical transfers. Now I know The Athletic do a very similar one which is sensible transfers that they believe the teams should do. It's The Athletic's opinion. They've got brilliant statistics, men on there like JJ Bull, that type of thing. But this is one that I've made without even knowing that the Athletic did this. I did this years ago. I did a quick one with Palace years ago. I wonder if I can flash that up on the screen just as a little thumbnail just up here now with Patrick Vieira. One of my top 5 videos definitely that I've produced. And that was when they were going to sign Eduard, they were going to sign, I think it might have been Elise or Eze. I was looking at that, and they did actually sign some of the players that I recommended. Don't want to say I'm going to take credit for it, but they came to fruition. So what I'm going to do today, going to bring it back, Crystal Palace once again. I think it's a great place to start because there's not been much transfer activity. It seems to be on a bit of a refresh, probably looking at the finances. But for me, let's just have a look at how they are doing and where they are. Crystal Palace, they were finished in 12th. They got Europa League football. They won the FA Cup against Manchester City, Eze scoring one of the goals in that one. And to be honest with you, they had a pretty average year in the Premier League. They finished on 0 goal difference, 51 goals scored, 51 conceded. They had a very strong back end of the year. 13 wins, 14 draws, 11 losses. So they managed to win a few more than they did actually lose. But if you look at this, they had a pretty miserable start to the year. By game week 12, they were in 19th position, which is around about 22nd of November. But then they managed to pull through, so around about week 30, they're in 12th, and they managed to maintain that position through to the end. You've got a few standout players here like Munoz, Eze, Chalobah had a very good year before he actually had to leave. Lacroix had a pretty nice year, Mateta, Guehi as well, Sarr, Mitchell, and then we go into like the Richards and the Whartons, where it's very, very average. I think Dean Henderson had a pretty good year in all honesty, but that 6.6 doesn't really give him the credit is due, to be honest with you. And then we go off and we see quite a bit of a fall off down to the bottom here, where we didn't really see much output from any of the players near the bottom. So for me, if you look at the weaknesses, so finishing scoring chances, that's a big one. You need to try and get another attacking player in. Avoiding offside, that's the inexperience at the back. Lacroix, Chris Richards, we need another centre-back in there as well. Aerial duels sort of falls hand in hand. Defending against long shots, the midfield needs a mass improvement, because what we're seeing there is the midfield aren't sort of coordinating themselves with the centre-backs, which the centre-backs aren't the issue. I think the central midfielders are the issue with that, because you can see here, keeping possession of the ball, very weak. We need people that are efficient with the ball. So Glasner played this 3-4-2-1 last year, Henderson, and then 3 at the back with 4 in the midfield, two attacking midfielders, so to speak, and then a striker. Very, very well played this, to be honest with you. When you watch them against Manchester City in the FA Cup final, they were very, very good. But the places I've identified that need to be changed, it's these 2 centre-backs here, Chris Richards or Lacroix. We definitely need to try and bolster that defensive line, because we need another backup in there. Because if they don't have anyone in there, there's no Trevor Chalobah. They're relying on, a few players to sit in there, if anything, which is not something that you want to be doing. You want to try and have at least another backup when I think your next one down. I can't even find one. It must have been Joel Ward who stood in for a few of the games. Then you've got Munoz and Mitchell. I'm pretty happy with them, but Munoz, we need a backup for Munoz. We've got Ben Chilwell for Tyreek Mitchell, where we can sort of interchange them, because Ben Chilwell might be injured here and there, you never know. But Munoz, I think, is going to need a backup, because the amount of games you've got, Europa League, League Cup, FA Cup, Premier League, you're going to need someone in there. The other one is this midfield. Now, I know Wharton comes in, he comes back from his injury, goes straight into the side, but you need another player in there. Now, Will Hughes hasn't got the legs anymore, Jefferson Lerma hasn't got the quality, I don't think, or that nous about him where he's very good at, I think there's only one good thing about him, really, which is he'll just run around a lot and intercept a few balls. That's about it. So, to me, we'll have to see what we can do with that. Then we've got Sarr, we've got Eze, and we've got Mateta as well. So I'll have to have a think. I think we need to get another striker in, maybe another attacking midfielder. I think we need a creative player in there. Sarr's not too creative, which is my issue. He's a great sort of backup for Mateta if Nketiah is not really going too well, and he can play on this right wing side if Eze pushes out to the left a bit more. Palace overall, if you look at what they've spent, so they've got 10 million profit there, 67 million in the dark, so 57 million loss, and then add on the 46, you're around about £100 million loss over the 3 years, but then with your, making money over the years, your TV licensing deal going up to 160 million, I think their overall total revenue is about 180 million, so, with staff expenditure, so on and so forth, I think PSR-wise, they'll be fine. They've never like signed someone mental, let's put it that way. So I think this year is the year they can spend big. They've got, I think, to look at this over the last 3 years, they've spent big, but they're going to recuperate that through the Europa League money they're going to get, the FA Cup money that they've won. They're going to be on TV a lot more, obviously, so they're going to get a lot more money. And obviously, I think the actual owners are pretty much ready to commit a little bit of money as well. So if you look at it, it's actually not too bad. So let's get into it now, and I think we've got probably around about 100 million to spend, 50 to 100 million definitely, and there'll be a few outs, I'm sure. A few players like Joel Ward's, Schlupp, there you go, Joel Ward and Schlupp who are leaving, so there's already wages to be spent there as well. So let's have a look, shall we? So as we have a look here now, Charlie Cresswell. He is going to be my first one, the centre-back position. So there's two options I've got. It's Charlie Cresswell and it's also another bloke. Now we'll go on to him in a second, but Charlie Cresswell, player from Leeds who has joined Toulouse, 4.2 million. He had a pretty standout year last year. 34 matches played. That's 32 games. The amount of minutes he played, 2,878. That's 32 starts pretty much per 90. Tackles wise, not too many. Only a tackle per game, which isn't too high, but the percentage is mega, 61%. He wins nearly 2/3 of his tackles, which is brilliant sort of, numbers. Progressive carries, he's not really the modern day centre-back, so I don't think you can play in a 3. That's the only question. You need to look at what Toulouse do. But aerial duels percentage, he is a beast in the air. Now, I think he'll be decent because he's only 21 years of age. I've got it down here, 21 years of age, and I think Sunderland are trying to sign him for 8 million. So £10 million will probably sort you out for a centre-back for the future to back up, Chris Richards, maybe try and fight Chris Richards for his place. He's a right-footed centre-back as well, which is what we need. And then also my other one that I'm quickly going to show you now is Trevor Chalobah. Now this man's the answer. It is definitely the answer, because you look at him there, 33 games played against Chelsea and Crystal Palace. I think you underestimate how difficult it is to play in 2 systems under 2 managers and try and get your mindset set like that. 28.6 around about starts for him. Or total 90, should we say. Tackles wise, 19, nearly 2/3, 0.66 per game, which is not too many, but the tackle percentage again is very, very high, which is what you want in that back 3. Progressive carries, he does carry the ball forward a fair bit, 0.66 again, nearly 1 per game, which is more so than anything. I think it might be just the fact that Maresca maybe didn't want him to push forward too much. I think that's probably what stopped him from getting more progressive carries, because he did it quite a bit at Crystal Palace. And aerial duels, he is quite good. 56.8% is decent enough. Not as good as Cresswell, who's a bit younger, a bit more athletic. Chalobah, I don't know, he's a very big presence, but he's not really particularly great at heading, which is interesting. But Trevor Chalobah is my option. Now I think from seeing reports, Napoli want him. Chelsea are touting around 40 million for him. They want to try and keep him, so 40 million, they'd probably have to be all up front. But for 25 years of age, you're going to be in there with Guehi for years to come. I think it'll be a great centre-back partnership between him and Guehi. If they can keep Guehi, I think he's a star. Chalobah, he's got to stay. He's got to be the man, in my opinion. Moving on. So next up, we've got the centre mids. So centre mids wise, I was thinking about Belieber. But Brighton will rinse you dry. Absolutely rinse you dry, so I don't think Belieber is the answer. Andre Santos then popped up from Strasbourg. I'm thinking about players that, can take the ball, progress the ball, play the ball safely, because that's what we want to try and see. Someone who can keep the possession, but also has got a bit of a dog in him. And that's why I've gone for this man, João Gomes. Now, João Gomes at Wolves, they did finish 16th last year, so, he could be tempted by Europa League. He could be tempted by a bit of a move. Cunha's left, look like they're going through a bit of a rebuild, Wolves, with some of the players leaving, and it could be big money for them, and I think they're going to need it. They're going to have to reinvest big. Matches played 40, that's 36.5, 90s, not too many assists, only 2, 0.05 assists per game. Passes completed though, 85. He does retain the ball pretty well. Progressive carries, he does carry it up, pretty well. 1.79, but he's more of a defensive midfielder in this Wolves side. I think he was playing a midfield too with a pivot. I think he'll be able to bring the ball forward a little bit more, and him and Wharton can sort of exchange. One goes forward, one stays back, so on and so forth. But tackles and interceptions, 4.27 per game. 4.27 per game, tackles and interceptions. That's mad. You look at the likes of Chalobah, who just previously on the screen then, tackles per 90, 0.66. This man's getting 4.27 interceptions and tackles per game. I don't think Chalobah's going to have 3.6 interceptions per game. No chance. This man is the real deal, João Gomez, and I think he's going to be the one that does all the barking in the midfield. He's going to be in the trenches, getting them balls back, really winning it back. Wharton's going to be in there with a technical genius, but João Gomez, he's got that Brazilian flair to him. He has got a bit of something about him. 2 assists last year. I think we underestimate his actual output based on the fact that he's playing such a big role in that midfield for Wolves. A massive role in the midfield. So that's my choice. I think you can probably get him for around 30 million, pushing up to the 40 million mark. So I've gone for Chalobah, I've gone to João Gomez. I think that's around about your 70 million mark. So we're getting up to, 35 million pound each. You could probably push for, especially with Chalobah knowing Crystal Palace and João Gomez wanting to probably play in the Europa League. You might push for it. I reckon you could try and get him for 70 million between them two. So we've got 30 million to play with. Now, I've gone for a few sensible ones here, and they're very, very sensible because I'm going to use the full 100 million that I've got up for grabs. I've gone for the next two, which is my right wing backups for the likes of Munoz, who's a 29-year-old, Colombian. He's going to be decent enough, I think, is Munoz. I've gone with Alejandro Jimenez from AC Milan. Now, he's signed from Real Madrid for only 3.2 or 4.2 million last year. 28 matches played, 18.5 90s. Not too great output-wise, goals and assists. He's a right wing back. He likes to play in that role, that bomb onwards. Same as Theo Hernandez on that left-hand side, but this time on the right with Jimenez. But the crosses, 2.54 crosses per game and 3.9 progressive carries. He would be an outstanding force going forwards, a brilliant backup to Munoz. An outstanding backup. He'll basically do what Munoz does. Where Munoz gets forwards, you always see him on the overlap, bombing it down, progressive carries, taking the ball up the pitch, getting them crosses in. It's just the output which I'm a bit wary of. He's only 19 years of age, he's 10 years younger than the senior Munoz. I think he's an interesting one, but my choice in this position is Ivan Fresneda. Now, if they can get him, because he's going to be in Champions League, he's won the double at Sporting this year, do I think he'll move? No, I don't. I seriously don't, because they've got Champions League football. He's playing a bit of Champions League football. He's had 21 matches played last year, 13.3 per 90, or 13.3 90s. He's had 3 goals. They're all goals. They're not assists. None of them are assists. It's 3 goals, so 0.23 per 90. Crosses-wise, not as many. Progressive carries-wise, not as many either, but still 2.33. He's more of your traditional full-back. Bit of a wing-back, should I say. Not you right wing-back. I'll probably stick to the full-back. So he gets forward, he supports a little bit, but his tackling, his defensive work is top-notch. Even Fresneda, I think, is really, really good. Now, if they were to try and buy him, Como were going to put in a bid, and it was around about, I've got down here, around about £12 million, which is nothing if you think about it. Alex Jimenez, looking for around about 8 million. So I think Fresneda is your first option. You try and get him for 12. If you can't, you go for your Jimenez. You go for him for about 8 million. The other option was Walker Peters. I don't think he's going to be that good because 27 years of age. He wants to have game time. I don't think he's going to get it. Fresneda, for me, you want a youngster, you want a proper backup who's going to be able to sit on the bench, but come on, play a few League Cup games, play a few Premier League games, maybe a Europa League group stage game. You never know if Munoz gets injured. You want quality. I think these two could provide you quality when Munoz isn't there. And then my final one. Now, I wanted a striker or attacking midfielder, and I was going through a few here. So I've got Davitashvili, I think that's how you pronounce it, Davitashvili. I had Rashford down, believe it or not. I thought Rashford With Crystal Palace getting Champions League and with how well Elise played for them, I thought Rashford might have been a decent shout at Crystal Palace, but I don't think they're going to be able to afford his wages. Never in a million years will they be able to afford his wages. The Georgian David Shvizeli, I can't pronounce it, but I think that's how you say it. I think he's a decent option, but more of a traditional winger, not attacking midfielder. So my first option is to go with Enzo Milo, or Mio, as you might pronounce it, the Frenchman who's playing in the German league for Stuttgart. 43 matches played last year, 31.990s. He had 20 goals and assists. That's 0.63 per 90 goals and assists. Expected assists 6.3. That's 0.23. So overdid, way over his expected assists, way over his goals. Shot creating actions 106 for the year. That's 3.77 per game. Shot creating actions is where you do basically two actions. It could be a dribble, it could be a key pass, it could be a tackle. It could be anything, but a shot creating actions where you do one after the other. So it could be win the ball back, key pass, and then the shot. That's a shot creating action where you are basically, it shows that you're not just passing a ball, you're having to provide and be a real creative output. It shows individual skill is what it does, and this man has plenty. Successful take-ons as well. I thought I'd add that in there. 44 for the year, 1.57, so can take players on, which is what you want to see. Kamada's been a bit of a letdown for the last year, I think, anyway. I think he's got the actual attributes and the mentality and the stamina, but Enzo Mio is going to give you that extra edge. I think, where you look at Wirtz and how good a year Wirtz had, I think you need to keep an eye on this man. This man's pretty good, and he's French. We've seen a lot of good French players at, Crystal Palace, Mateta. We've seen Elise, the likes of those two. I think Edouard in the past. I think this man could be a secret, and he's only going to be going for 20 million. I think that's I believe that's his release clause after looking at what's been written in the papers. I think he's a good option. And then my other option would be Emmanuel Omega. This boy's a beast. Let's just put it that way. 6'5", 22 years of age. Runs down the left. Brilliant going forward. Proper out and out striker. 29 games. 26.690s. 14 goals in that. So still learning his craft. Non-penalty expected goals 17. I want you to include that. And that's a stat I like to use for strikers, because if you're not going to take penalties, how many goal-scoring opportunities are you going to have? And 17 through the year, 0.67. If he had someone like Eze behind him, or a Mio, or, like a Kamada, Munoz, I think he would be mega. Goal-creating actions, only 4 for the year, so, again, struggling with the individual brilliance, but if he has the support around him, we can see 14 goals is decent enough, and he likes a lot of touches in the attacking penalty box. 1.57 per 90, that's big. That is big. I mean, it sounds strange, but to have 2 touches in a game, and touches, they're not just, it's not just a touch of the ball, it's generally having a touch, taking 2, running a few yards, and actually having the ball under control. It's not just like a pass in, touch, pass out sort of prediction. So to me, this man could be the answer. So I've gone for Mio. I have gone for Mio. Omega's another good one, but I've gone for Mio because I think Nketiah can be a decent enough backup, but I think they need another attacking midfielder to sort of, supplement Eze, let him come in and do his own thing, and Eze can then be a bit more open, especially with the output that Enzo Mio produces. So for me, you've got Chalobah for 40 million, João Gomes for around about 30 million, you've got Fresneda, which is about 12 million, and then you've got Mio, who's about 20 million. So altogether, you're spending about 102 million, which to me is doable. I think Crystal Palace, if they wanted to go big, if they wanted to go home, you could always sack off Chalobah and bring in Charlie Cresswell, who I think's a decent buy. So he's £30 million cheaper, then you're only spending your 70. You've then got the likes of, do you need to bring in another attacking midfielder? Will you rely on Kamada, in which case you can bring on, you can bring in another cheaper central midfielder if you need to, or even get players on loan. That's the other question. So, yeah, Crystal Palace, it's an interesting one, but my picks, as I say, Chalobah, João Gomes, Fresneda, Mio. Them 4 are the answer. They're the truth. I think if you look at the lineup, you'd be looking at playing, you know, Henderson, and then you'd have in there Chalobah, Lacroix, and Guehi, which looks great. Munoz. You then have Wharton in there next to João Gomez with Mitchell on the left, which is a very solid midfield four. And then you'll have Eze in there with Mio and then Mateta up front. It's a great side. It's an absolutely fantastic side. Then you've got the likes of Sarr coming off the bench, Lerma coming off with Hughes. You've got Fresneda on the bench if you want to look at him. Charlie Cresswell can even come in to back it up. You'll have your Chris Richards on your bench as well. I think it's a very good side then. Chilwell on the left as well, which is interesting. So, yeah, a great option, a great few options there. I hope you did enjoy this video. If you did, please leave a like. Let me know how you feel about, you know, who I'm proposing for us to bring in there. Crystal Palace, that is. Because I think there's a few clever transfers there, and some on the cheap, I'll be honest, some on the cheap. So, thank you guys for watching. If you did enjoy, as I keep saying, please leave a like, subscribe if you are new. Please get me up to 300 sub-managers by the end of the year. That's my aim for this year, 300 sub-managers. And yes, I shall be doing this again with another team in the future. So let me know who you think. A bit of a long one this time around. I'd like to slim it down if I can. Obviously, I'm trying to explain my transfers for you. There's quite a few big ones here for Crystal Palace, which is why it's taking so much time. But thank you guys for watching nonetheless. So catch you guys in the next one. Hope you're all well. And yes, stay safe and see you in the next one. From me, Alex, have a great day. Ciao.